You said that on paper, integrated automation looks very beautiful and pretty, but it's very painful to make work. Can you talk a bit about some of those challenges that you had, some of the pains of making it work, and how did you resolve it at the end of the day?
Yes, the thing is, I will compare with basic mechanics. I don't know if you have had an old car, one of those basic ones where you have a carburetor and a radiator and an engine, and that's it. Those you can fix yourself. Those you get in the middle of the way and call someone and they tell you to move, to adjust, to put, you can make the car work again. That is kind of the basic distribution center where you don't have a lot of technical stuff, a lot of technology implemented, a lot of electric stuff, a lot of boxes that you cannot open because if you open it, you probably damage something. That's the same thing between an old car and a new car. The new car is exactly the same, like a state of the art distribution center. If you don't have the person, the computer, the right tools to go and evaluate and identify where is the error, where is the mistake, where is the stopper, and the expert to go and fix it, nothing gonna move you. Once it is running, is beautiful. When you have your electric car running, is far better than your model 1950 car for sure. Like it will be more comfortable, it will be faster, it will be all the good stuff. But that process between getting it running, having all the small pieces talking together without breaking, without interrupting, that is the piece that is very, very painful. When you mix different vendors to talk between each other, that's another big pain point. But at the end of the day, it's probably one of the best decisions ever because I don't know a single vendor that has all the solutions of all the things that you need all together talking the same language. You need the best of each of the solutions that you need connected, talking, flowing through in the best way possible. So at the end of the day, it's beautiful. When it is working, it's beautiful. But finding those connections, putting every single piece of the distribution center system, talking the same language at the same rhythm and the same cadence, that's the piece that is tricky, and it takes more effort. I think it's underestimated how much you need to work it through to make it really work at the end of the day.
As an operations leader, someone who's running a facility, right, and already has a ton on their plate, now evaluating such a transformation and even just considering and evaluating in good detail any one subcomponent, sub-automated system of a larger integrated system, something that like you had dealt with, Lina, even just evaluating any one smaller piece there is so much to know to embark upon that challenge. Now, as soon as you bring all the pieces together with the different interfaces and the ways of communicating, like you mentioned, the complexity just goes up exponentially, right? So what do you say to somebody who's never done it before, but they want this electric car, right? Where do they turn to help them make that first step?
I will say there's two things. One, educate yourself as much as you can, and two, hang out with people that are experts in the matter. Like those are the type of things. An expert in the matter, not vendors, not salespeople. Like you need to go with people that has experience doing it before, and is not necessarily charging you or getting any benefit from you if you choose A or B. That's a critical point to really find the best fitting for your needs. That will be my two first points. And
So looking through your peer network to
yes,
others.
yes, that's definitely the thing. You won't be able to become an expert by yourself, but you need to surround with people that has experience and can kind of guide you through the process.
Okay, so the big day finally arrives. The implementation's complete. You have go live. Everything's together, talking, communicating, moving material, popping the champagne, fireworks, the whole thing. But then the vendors go home. The experts that were there on site go home, and now you're left with a system. You have some trained staff, I would imagine, at your site. They're trained at this point, but not experienced, fair to say, just yet. So how did you bridge that knowledge gap, and what worked for you, and what did not work so well at the time?
I would say it worked that we did dedicate some time for our internal experts to spend time with the vendor experts. We did that. I will change that. I will do it a little bit longer. Like we surely could have done it like in a deeper way, maybe even visiting other installations first. Like we did that, but it was minimum. We could have done like building that experience, as you mentioned, that they were lacking a little bit faster. That will definitely be one of my changes. Yeah.
Curious, Lina, how much time did you plan for? And maybe it varied depending on the system or the subsystem, but how much time did you plan for with that hands-on training or very close support versus what you ended up ultimately looking for or achieving?
Yeah, we were expecting to have like 3 months, bringing the people, rotating the people in the new building, getting trained here, and the experts spending like most of their time during those 3 months in the new building. The reality was like half of that because we underestimated the needs, like the balance between training the new building and keeping alive the business in the old facility. Then definitely that's one of the pieces that I will definitely prioritize, because when you are in operations, and that's a constant effort in operations, like you are rushing out and your urgency usually um, is underestimated, is overestimated versus what it is important. You need to put the resources, need to put the money, need to put the time on things that in the long run gonna bring you more benefit. And one of those, especially in these transitions, is training your internal team and building as much as you can experience on your internal experts to run the new systems.
If you were scoping a similar system, scale, complexity, again, okay, seems that you would potentially double the amount of time for this critical hands-on training time. Is there anything else that you would do differently, thinking in the way of documentation or anything else related to that handover process, which is such a critical process? And of course, vendors, it's in their interest to, well, yeah, they want you to be successful, but they also have other projects that they need to get to, yeah?
Absolutely.
And so some of them, the unfortunate reality is maybe some of them are running out the door. So what do you do on the front end to prevent that and protect yourself and make sure that you're as successful as you need to be?
Yeah, one of the things that I would have done different too is probably fight a little bit harder for the experts, for keeping the experts in. Paying a little bit more to keep them linked to the vendors, or even hiring them as a consultants for ourselves too. Like that one, like keeping the knowledge around for a little bit longer, definitely would have done a huge difference in the time that it took us to solve some of the problems that we face after the go live date. Documentation wise, I think that one has been, in general, that's it's kind of the same thing than the time of training type of thing. Usually you have your experts doing things, not necessarily being expert documenting. Like the person that knows how to manage a machine, how to program, is not necessarily the one that is able to write down the instructions to do that, or the instructions to do those things. So one of the learning points to that is you probably need a person dedicated to document and question all the processes, like a third-party person that is not an expert, that is not used to see the system, to write down the instructions on how to do X or Y processes. That way, the process and the SOPs and everything is, I would say, for dummies type of thing. Like if I am not familiar with the process, I should be able to go through the SOP and understand the steps and being able to regenerate the process, like do it in a decent way, even if it's my first time, because the SOPs, the instructions, the recommendations, whatever the rules, are well written. That is another point that, especially in these industries, like the piece of operations, the piece of machinery, the piece of manufacturing, we are executors. We are not writers.
Very valuable insight there. That's something all too easy to underestimate or just miss entirely as you're going through it the first time. So yeah, great tidbit of information there. Were there instances where elements needed to be redesigned along the way? And if so, when you're in the midst of the system being implemented, designed, implemented, having to change course, even if it's a little bit to a small degree, it can have meaningful impact on timeline, on other, cascading effects on perhaps relations with other systems. When you're in the whirlwind of the project coming to life, and that now you have to make a change. I'm curious if you had any of those situations, and how did you adapt?
Yes, I will say that one is definitely every time you make a change, you need to run again the return of investment of whatever you're doing. Because if that means that everything is stopping and being delayed for a month, it's very different than if you can make the change and affect only hours or a day of delay. Rule of thumb, when you kind of are designing something, you should have like a milestone point where you just pencil down, no more redesign, no more nothing. We are kind of committed to this plan. Other than that, it will be a never-ending project. If you keep changing, if you keep adjusting, you will never finish it. Then there is a point where you definitely need to stop. Now, if there's something that is structurally wrong, that the return of investment is yes, if you don't fix it right now, it won't work. That is one of the things that you definitely should include. But if you are thinking, and I don't know, the color of the thing or the because we did have those conversations, uh, or that you want, I don't know, a conveyor, you think that is not convenient to have it here, but you want it 2 meters to the right, things like that, that at the end of the day it could improve a little bit, but it doesn't necessarily make a difference. You should definitely not go with those changes. You should just let it be and not go with those.
So striking the right balance between flexibility and rigidity
Yep.
is important. So as you're dealing with many stakeholders in this facility, you mentioned the color, you mentioned the conveyor could be, a couple feet this way or that way. To most people, maybe it doesn't matter so much where that conveyor is positioned, but there could be somebody on the floor or somebody in operations a little closer to that process who has a big opinion about that conveyor being 2 feet this way or that way. So can you tell us a little bit about how important it is to have the right internal communications and put the necessary amount of effort into that alignment for the success of the project, and also to prevent everything from creeping the scope, every little thing that someone, may have an opinion about?
Everyone in the floor that is not necessarily one of those big stakeholders that you need to keep aware from the finance, the ROI, and all those details. They are still your stakeholders, but in another level, and they definitely can make troubles on the floor if you do not manage correctly. So I would say regular communication, letting them know what is going on, why it is happening, without going to an extreme, like, because at the end of the day, the decision is taken and is what it is. So there is a middle point where you just communicate, you address the questions, the doubts, whatever points they have. But there is a reality that is like, it doesn't matter how much communication you do, it doesn't matter how good relationship you have with the team or what the level of dedication you have to the people in the floor. You will always have people that are not happy with whatever is going on. You always will have like a 10-20% of people that are like, yeah, that is not good. As far as you kind of rebalance between the people, like, it's not always the same people. And you kind of have different points where you let them win some and you kind of make it happen. Like that back and forth where you give them the benefit of the doubt, but you let them feel listened, important, part of the team, give them some participation. If not in that specific case, you kind of turn the attention to something better where you can let them take decisions, things like that. That will be the way to manage. But the reality is there's no way that you can have everyone happy and celebrating every decision that you take on the floor.